summary from a text that we have read. Okay? So when we say summarizing, what you're doing is you have to get to the point. Okay? You have to make sure that you keep the main point when from the text that you have read. Okay? And then the summary, you have to, yes, you have to get the main point, because in a summary you are giving a short account of the central ideas. So you are giving what's important from the text. Therefore, it's like you get the main point, and that's the central idea, or what is the focus of the text. That's what you have to write in the summary. Otherwise, you are not supposed to be including unnecessary information. Okay? So you only, from the text that you are reading, isn't it that when we write, we have to, when we plan for our writing, we have to think of how to explain, how to add more details. But in summarizing, you try to dissect again and remove those details, remove those explanations, and just find for the central ideas, or find for the main ideas that you're just going to include in your summary. Okay, so in your summary, everything must, the most important ideas must be included there. Okay, next. Now, in writing summaries, summaries are not a place for opinions. So it means, since you are only focused on the main idea or the central ideas, you are not supposed to be including your opinions in your summary. Okay? Or you're not even allowed to include your background knowledge, because you are no longer giving details. You are trying to do the opposite way. So instead of adding details, what you're doing is you already have the full text. Now you try to remove the details and just be left with the most important ideas or information. You are not also allowed to give your personal information. Okay? So what then are we going to include in our summary? So it's only the major ideas and necessary information that should be placed in your summary. Okay, so again, what should I include in my summary? It's only the major ideas and, okay. So when writing your summary, or when trying to identify the major ideas and the necessary information from your text, you always have to ask yourself this question. So you say, do I need this information to understand the text? If you think that information is necessary, then you are going to include it in your summary. You understand? If the information is not necessary for you to understand the text, then you have to leave it out. Next. So yes, if your answer is yes, you are going to put it. You're going to put it in your summary. Right? Yes. So I said that in writing a summary, you have to put the main idea and you have to put the key points. So the main idea is what the text is all about. Okay? And the key points are arguments or information that is used to support the main idea. Okay? Key points may be developed or elaborated with supporting ideas. So, um, when you are reading texts and when you have to go through paragraphs, you have to um, look for the key points, and you have to be able to know how to identify which is the supporting detail to that key point, so that when you come up with, when you have to identify your key points, you will be able to know that, oh, this is a key point, therefore I have to underline it. Oh, this is the supporting detail, I need to leave it out. Okay, so your summary should only include main ideas and key points and not supporting details. You are not including your supporting details. If I always ask you to add supporting details in your writing, because you are writing, this time, since you are summarizing, you leave out the supporting details. So you have a text, but try to find out the supporting details, and that's what you remove. Okay. Now, there are skills in summarizing. So these are the skills that you should be able to develop, or these are the skills that you should be able to know when you write summaries. Okay. So what are the skills? First, you have to be able to know how to identify key points in the passage. Okay, if you are not able to identify key points, then you won't be able to come up with a good summary, or you won't be able to target what you are supposed to be targeting that are needed in your summary. Are you listening to me or not? Okay. Next, you have to know how to articulate in your own words. What does it mean? In summarizing, you're not just going to, okay, this is the main idea, or these are the key points, and I need to underline or highlight them. And then when you write your summary, you just copy those key points chronologically, or copy the key points according to how they are ordered in the text. That's not how you are going to summarize. Okay? In summarizing, you have to write in your own words. That's why it is necessary. Yes. Or, in other words, you have to make sure that that your vocabulary is wide. You should know synonyms of words, so that instead of using the same word from the text, you change it with another word, or you change it with a synonym. Okay? So you don't just copy, you don't just pick out the lines, or you don't just lift out the lines from the text. Now, sequencing points cohesively all within the given word count. In summarizing, usually, especially for Cambridge, in summarizing, they usually give a word count. Okay? So, when you summarize, you have to make sure to meet the word counts that are given. Yes. Yes, because that's what Cambridge is asking. Okay? So before before you write your summaries, you have to, in reading a text. So first you have to highlight, and then you have to once you highlight, you have to list down those key points. Then after listing down the key points, then you have to identify which points are you going to talk about first. So when you identify the main points, you don't simply follow from, oh, okay, in this text it started with this information, and then this information and that information. And when I summarize, I need to follow how the text wrote accordingly, or I am going to follow how the text organized its ideas. That's not how you're going to summarize. You have to be the one to identify where you are going to start your text. Well, later on, we'll try to practice. And then the content. So, what should be placed in your summary, or what should I write in my summary? So points must be taken from the passage. That's why you have to highlight or underline the passage that you are reading, because you have to identify the points. Adding facts or opinions are not suggested. That's why it's important to only focus on the point that you are going to identify from the passage. So, content marks, uh, yes. Um, the summary is only limited or has a word count only. And usually, uh, or evaluators from the Cambridge mark your summary or mark your papers um, if you were only able to identify the correct content. Okay, I'm not sure if you don't if you take a checkpoint test in BMS, but oh, okay. Oh, okay. Mhm. But when you go to the middle school, I think in your middle school they are more serious with Cambridge because Cambridge is an international curriculum where, although for some, like in our school, um, the students choose whether they take checkpoint or not. But in some schools, they require all students to take the checkpoint. Yes. But of course, even if you're not taking the checkpoint, what if you go to grade 11 and 12? What if you go to grade 8? Because in grade 8, it's necessary to take checkpoint. In grade 10, it's necessary to take IGCSE. And these are the skills that you need. Okay, so even if you don't take checkpoint in primary, you have to start developing these skills like how to scan when you are reading, how to skim when you are reading, how to summarize the texts that you are reading. Okay, so these are very important skills, especially in reading and writing. Now, how about the language? What will be the language that you're going to use in your summary? So you have to make sure. Oh, this is wrong. It should be right, right in. Okay. So you have to make sure to write in your own language. I mean, write in your own words. So as far as yes, you have to write in your own words and find the precise words that you're going to use and vary your choices. That's why it's very important to know a lot of vocabulary words, to know synonyms. That's why when we do vocabulary texts, vocabulary exercises, where you have to be able to know what is the meaning of this word, you have to start memorizing them. Okay, and not just knowing the meanings of those words, you have to use them when you communicate, and you have to use them when you write. Okay, next we have the writing step. So, how are you going to write? So, in summary writing, there's no need to do your introduction and conclusion. Usually, yes, but your point is to give the key points or to give the main idea. You are not already the text is already there. So it's the text that has the introduction and the conclusion. So in summary writing, you don't need to include those. You only focus on the main points. If I ask you to write a text, that's the time you have to include an introduction and a conclusion. But since I am asking you to write a summary from a text, then you don't need to include introduction and conclusion. Okay? Next, write in complex sentences. What are complex sentences again? Right, yeah. And in complex sentences, that's the time where you have to use what are the words that you need to use in complex sentences. Right. So you need to know your conjunctions and when to know your conjunction. Sometimes they also call it, usually for middle school and high school, they usually say cohesive devices. But these are the same. Okay, so that you will know similarities. Or we also have transition words. Okay, what are the transition words? Like first, second, third, what else? Then, next, you have moreover, you have furthermore, you have in addition, furthermore, in addition, um, and there are more, okay? You also have, however, if you show things that are contrasted, okay? Then make sure that the spelling. I think I have here wait a list of transition words. Okay, here you have your linking text. So if you want to show differences, we have in contrast, whereas. Oh, is it? Wait, wait. Okay, so I'll start presenting again. So take note, Linghang, we don't just discuss this for the sake of discussing. You have to start memorizing them. So we have linking words. So if you try to show differences, then you use the opposite in contrast, whereas on the other hand, however, but as much as possible, move away now from the use of and, but, and or with a fun voice. Okay? Try to use more complicated connect conjunctions. Okay? And if you talk about similarities, we also have similarly, the same as, both sets, as in, also, just as, likewise. Okay? And when you add more information, you say furthermore, in addition, moreover, those ones. You need to know how to use those because you have to start writing in complex sentences. For compound sentences, it's okay for grade 1 and grade 2, and maybe grade 3, yes. But now that you're already in the upper primary, start using complex sentences. So, in coming up with complex sentences, you should be able to know the conjunctions. There are a lot of conjunctions, okay? Like conjunctions that show reasons, conjunctions that show similarities, like the ones that I've shown a while back, and differences, conjunctions that show contrast, conjunctions that show cause and effect, like because, so that, in order to. Yes, there's so many. That's why don't wait for you to go to middle school before starting to memorize these words. Okay? At least start using some of them now with a copy or with a list. Okay? That's why you try to, if I were you in your study room, try to come up with a list of those connectors or conjunctions or transition words and post them on a wall in your study room or in your bedroom so that as you see them every day, you will be reminded that, oh, these are the conjunctions. This is how this conjunction is going to be used. And when you speak, try to speak with your brother in English and try to speak in complex sentences. Okay? So again, don't wait for you to go to middle school before starting to memorize this. Otherwise, you will have a very difficult life if you wait for middle school before you start knowing, understanding, memorizing. Yes. Okay. Yes, because these are very important. Um, even in whatever writing, whether you do Cambridge test writing, they always one of the rubrics is always cohesive devices. Even if you do IGCSE in grade 10, they're always looking for whether does this student know how to write complex sentences, or this student only knows how to write simple sentences and compound sentences. Okay, and not only Cambridge, even if you go to IB for grade 11 and grade 12, where all the topics in English are writing. Yes, you start all writing in grade. Once you get to grade 6, that's where you start a little complicated writing. Grades 6 to 8. And then grades 9 to 10, there are more types of writing that you need to write. Yeah. In grade 10, it's more complicated. In grade 11, where I am teaching now, a lot of text types. We need to write a blog. We need to write travel writing. We need to write news articles. We need to write, there are 30 text types that we need to learn and we need to write. Yes. We need to write speeches. We need to write letters. We need to write, we need to create podcasts. So, yes, we need later on, yeah, later on you will be learning those. But of course, for now, you have to start learning how to write first. Otherwise, if you don't develop your skill in writing, then how will you be able to have time to explore how to learn how to make podcasts, how to make videos, how to design your blog? If still in middle school you are still writing how to write, you are still learning how to write. Okay? Now let's continue. So we stopped on um, so we are talking about summary writing. So we had the following. Correct. Yes. And of course, as you write complex sentences, you have to make sure that you know the spelling of the words. You know the punctuation. You know that the grammars are correct. That's why you have to understand subject verb agreement. That's why you have to understand tenses of the verbs. Okay? So always take note that whatever you learn in primary is very important. That's why you have to focus on learning them. Because when you go to the middle, your teacher won't be teaching you about punctuation again. Your teacher won't be teaching you about tenses of the verbs or subject verb agreement anymore. Your teacher will only focus on, okay, we need to write. means of